It was the time of the 1,000 cities, and the old faith dominated the land. The twins, Maro and Thamar, eschewed the doctrine of the creator of man and strove to show mankind a different path. What was best for humanity, however, the twins had never agreed on, and in time their philosophies would divide them. In their final battle that would end both their mortal lives, they would show the world that both paths were equally capable of leading to divinity. In the years that followed, mankind reveled in the halcyon era of the 1,000 cities, but the lands of Western Immoren would not know peace for long. Massive black ships disgorged the terrible Orgoth legions upon the continent's shores, unleashing hell across all of Western Immoren. Wielding dark magic, the Orgoth subjugated and enslaved all of humanity to their rule. As mankind's prayers to Menoth and Maro went unanswered, people began to lose faith. These gods themselves despaired, unable to see a path to freedom. But Thamar had never lost her love for humanity, and so she sought to give them a gift. That gift, as it was so wrongly called, was not given freely, for it would come with a heavy price. Maro was complicit in his sister's conspiracy. Both twins agreed to barter with dark and sinister powers, postponing the payment of a promised debt. Generations passed. Wizards and sorcerers were born to mankind for the first time. Under their leadership and alongside the mighty colossal constructs made possible by their newfound arcane talents, the natives of Western Immoren rose up against their Orgoth oppressors and drove them from their lands. Free once more, the descendants of the 1,000 cities reformed their tribes and drew new lines across the continent to create the Iron Kingdoms. Too quickly they forgot the unspoken price of their freedom. The debt owed to those who had granted humanity the gift of magic. The Infernals.
The Infernals, they're otherworldly alien beings that prey on the souls of our setting. They live outside of Cain and Urcain and watch the world and covet what they see.
They use the souls of humanity or anything that has a soul as basically the raw material for anything that they want to do or create.
They make bargains, they make deals, they want to find collaborators, what we call infernalists, which are people who are willing to barter with them and do horrible things in order to increase their own power, kind of serving as collaborators for the infernals.
They just want their souls and then they'll be on their way, but they're willing to do anything they can to take them.
We wanted to explore that idea of a contract that was written on a cosmic level and that would have to get paid on an apocalyptic scale.
Infernals are really, really different than anything else that's ever been in Warmachine.
Infernals use a completely new resource mechanic called Essence, different than Focus and Fury. It does a lot of the same things. You get to boost attack rolls and perform power attacks, cast spells with it, but the way you replenish it and the way you allocate it is a little bit different.
At the beginning of a round, when you would normally pull off Fury from Beasts or refill your focus for a Warcaster, you have to sacrifice one of the models in your army to refill your Master's Essence.
They allocate Essence out to the Horrors, and the Horrors spin those, but the Essence stays on the Horrors turn to turn, sort of like a battery. But every single turn, at the end of the turn, every Horror on the battlefield has to spend one Essence as a tithe. And if they can't spend one Essence, they just vanish from the battlefield.
So an Infernal Horror is basically like the Infernals, Warjacks, and Warbeasts. They are big things. They're very powerful, and they're in the battle group of the Infernal Master.
They don't have a damage grid or a damage spiral, they have a damage web that has its own unique rules. Also the fact that you can summon them into play. An Infernal Master, during their activation, once per turn, can spend Essence equal to the Essence stat of any of the Horrors you own. You pick a nearby marked soul. It's a special rule that goes on certain mortal soldiers. They die, and then a Horror sort of just bamfs into where their body was, and then it's fully playable and ready to go.
They can do things mid-game as responses to what you're doing by bringing new models on the table that normal armies in Warmachine can't do, so you have to be on your toes when you play against them because of all the tools they have.
Centuries passed since humanity had received Thamar's gift and used it to defeat the Orgoth. In time, Only one individual, the old witch known as Savannah Aga, remained vigilant, watching the stars for signs and portents that would herald the day the otherworldly horrors would come to collect what they were owed. With each passing generation, she guided the hands of fate to ensure the existence of champions who could one day stand against the Infernals. But the Infernals had planted seeds of their own long ago, aided by those tricked into collaboration or willing to sell out their countrymen for the promise of personal gain. Desperate, Savannah went so far as to set in motion an ancient prophecy, the Wicked Harvest. Unleashing an army of nightmares in an attempt to expunge any humans weak-willed enough to become pawns in the infernal agenda. But in the end, the doom that Thamar and Morrow had attempted to postpone would not be avoided. Their agents in place, the Infernals tore open the barrier between their realm and ours, driving their legions of horrors into the Iron Kingdoms to claim their long-awaited reward. 2/3 of the souls of humanity, and not a single soul less. This would be the claiming.
So the claiming is the term that we're giving to the 2/3 of humanity that the Infernals are ostensibly coming to Cain to seize. The good guys in our setting and the gods that are protecting our world don't want that to happen. They are going to do what they can to prevent the claiming. Whether they'll be able to remains to be seen.
The gods have gone silent. They've basically turned their backs on this deal. They've left humanity to fight its own war. Their agents are still involved. We see the Archons of Morrow joining the battle. Archons are like angels. Every one of them has been a Primarch or some powerful being from a previous age.
One of the ideas with the claiming is that if the Infernals are able to seize as many souls as they intend to, it gives them a lot of power and could have dire consequences pretty much across the board for every faction. And one of the ways that we're trying to approach that and show that is through a character, the Hermit of Hengehold.
The Hermit of Hengehold is this sort of crazy Iozan who knows the Infernals are coming, knows what the Infernals are, but it's driven him insane.
He knows all the secrets of the universe. He's seen the future.
And he seems to be focused on maybe providing hope that the Infernals could be overcome. I don't think anybody entirely trusts him, but still better to have him on your side than working against you.
The Order of Illumination's been around for a long time with a prime directive of rooting out infernal threats wherever they could find them. They've also had other adversaries or targets on their list. They're not big fans of Thamarites. You'll see factions working together that never would have been allies in the past. You'll see the Order of Illumination working directly with Thamarites. Faced with, certain extinction, they're better off together. There's one notable character in the history of the Iron Kingdoms that's making an exciting appearance in Oblivion, and that's Alexia. She'll be coming back, and again, she'll be leading the Legion of Lost Souls. There's other forces out there too, but how they fit in to this puzzle is something that hasn't been revealed yet. Oblivion is nothingness. It's to be erased from the universe.
Oblivion's a brand new box product from WARMACHINE and Hordes, and it is the story of the Infernals showing up and trying to take over all of reality.
In the box set, you get a Hermit of Hengehold model. You get the Oblivion campaign book, which has tons of lore and fiction and art about the Infernals, the Order of Illumination, the Archons, all these other forces trying to stop the Infernals. A full narrative campaign system, a deck of cards to use in that campaign system, and then you also get the new revised rules digest.
So the updated WARMACHINE and Hordes rulebook that is in Oblivion is the very first time that both the game's rules have been in the same book. It also incorporates any and all the errata that has been put into WARMACHINE and Hordes rulebook-wise since we launched the third version of the game.
The biggest change people are going to notice in the revised rulebook immediately is the Theme Force remix. What we've done is we looked at what was working for theme forces and what wasn't, what people's complaints were and what they liked. We have not changed most of the army compositions for the theme forces, so don't worry. The models in your current theme forces are still going to be there. In fact, most of the benefits have remained. But what we have changed is that free point option. The way it works now is a system called the requisition system. There is a list of models you can get for free with requisition points, and these are the things you would expect: free solos, free command attachments, things like that. At 25 points, you get 1 requisition point. At 50, you get 2. And at 75, you get 3. Each requisition point can be spent on one of these free options.
So you don't have to make as restrictive of choices about how many points you're including of certain types of models in order to get free models. And that is a big, giant difference in army construction and how you think about building armies for Warmachine.
The Oblivion narrative campaign is for 2 to 4 players, and you're basically going to take one of 2 sides, Guardian or Corruptor. And this campaign lets everyone tell their own story as they're playing with everyone else. And it creates these branching paths and these storylines that all intertwine until ultimately they all meet back up at a big finale event where one agenda wins the entire campaign.
We're going to do other seasons that use the core rules of the Oblivion campaign and introduce new branching scenarios for players to play.
We've never seen the world of the Iron Kingdoms change on such a fundamental level as we will with the introduction of Infernals and the Oblivion campaign.
I'm just excited to see where things go from here. There's so many possibilities. I'm interested to see who lives, who dies. Do the Infernals win? Do they lose? Like, what happens now? This is a massive invasion of the Iron Kingdoms from an alien horror race. Like, where do we go from here?
Oblivion is going to change everything.
For over 700 years, scholars and theologians have debated the true origins of humanity's arcane gift. Some say the twins hoped to defy the Infernals their payment, and that the Infernals moved too quickly for them to intervene. Whatever the excuse, the horror is worse than we could ever imagine. We are on our own. Though the contract was agreed to without our consent, humanity has benefited from the infernal gift, and we are now obliged to pay the price. Unless, of course, we don't. We can refuse to meekly surrender. We will not give our lives and souls for a gift we did not ask for, and we owe no debt to gods who have failed us. We will not pass quietly into oblivion. There is still hope.